With a game as big and deep as Elden Ring, there are bound to be loads of false rumors, theories, and even myths. That's why I scoured the internet for those rumors, to test them and see how real they really are. Welcome to Elden Ring Mythbusters. As some of you may or may not know, the weather and various other factors can affect your elemental damage. If you're shooting fireballs while it's raining, or the enemy is in a pool of water, you're gonna do less damage. So I was wondering, do these elemental debuffs apply to Ash of Wars? On paper, you might expect FromSoft to completely account for this, but making every single Ash of War interact with the world the same as the spells do is a pretty hard task. I can see this test going either way. FromSoft has a high level of detail where I could see them doing this, but this is also an insanely specific thing. Let's hop into testing and find out. For this test, we're going to be using the Blasphemous Blade. Why the Blasphemous Blade? This is a weapon that has an Ash of War that's clearly a certain element. Some AOWs can be elementally ambiguous, so I went with one that has an obvious type. Since the Blasphemous Blade Ash of War is a fire type, we're going to head to Liurnia and punch some tentacle monsters in the face. So for the test, we're going to lure these guys onto land, hit them with a batch of lava, record the score, and do the same with them in the water. Once I got this guy on land, I hit him and did 1,206 damage. I made sure to do it a few times to make sure nothing weird went on, and it stayed consistent, and came back to see how H2O being in the mix would change things. And once I hit him, I was honestly super surprised. My hit in the water did 1,041 damage. That's 165 damage less. Ladies and gentlemen, this myth isn't a myth. The elemental conditions affect your Ash of Wars just as much as your spells. What this means for you is that you seriously need to consider your Ash of Wars element and the weather or area conditions. 165 damage isn't a small amount at all. This actually has a decent effect on your damage dealing capability. If you don't want to worry about the weather, just choose a non-elemental Ash of War, or you're going to be missing out on some serious damage if the conditions aren't right. This myth is definitely going to come in handy for those who really do their small due diligence of checking the weather and waiting if it's bad. The Lion's Claw counts as a jump attack, right? That's the golden question that a lot of people have asked given its popularity in the meta. Everyone loves the Greatsword, and the Lion's Claw just belongs on the Greatsword. So it's natural that when they see the Lion's Claw being an obvious jump attack visually, they wonder if it actually counts as a jump attack so they can buff it with the Claw Talisman. I mean, the Ash of War is literally in the name of the talisman. Come on, it has to work. The Lion's Claw is so obviously visually a jump attack. You jump in the air and spin with your sword till you hit the ground. My impressions before is that I think it'll work. I mean, that's so obviously a jump attack. And if it isn't, you can turn me into a fish and name me Daryl. I'm gonna do this test pretty much exactly how I did the previous one. I'm gonna whack some people with and without the talisman and see what the numbers tell me. I went around clobbering these weird enemies and was doing 568 a hit without the talisman. When I put on the Claw Talisman, I started doing a huge 568 damage. Yeah, the Claw Talisman doesn't even affect the Lion's Claw one bit, which means that it doesn't count as a jump attack. And this myth is busted. I'm in absolute shock. I don't think I've ever been gaslit harder than this. You're telling me that this isn't a jump attack, FromSoft? How do you think we get in the air to do the spin? You think we just teleport up there? Do you think we fly up there by going on a giant spring? No, we jump. And when you jump during an attack, guess what it's called? This hurts even more, because my dumbass played an entire Greatsword build playthrough with the Claw Talisman equipped. It really seems like it would work, but apparently not. So ladies and gentlemen, I guess never run a jump build with a Lion's Claw Greatsword ever again, because for some reason, the jumpiest attack in the world isn't a jump attack. We've already tested FromSoft's commitment to realism quite a bit, but we're gonna take it to a whole other level now. Did you know that FromSoft coded wind directions into the game? No, seriously. You can see the direction the wind is blowing by taking out a torch and seeing where the flame blows, or looking at a tree and seeing what the leaves doing. The real question that's lying in all this is, does the wind direction affect the path of an arrow shot? Do bowmains need to start shooting in the direction of the wind? Should you adjust the wind before you fight any and every boss? Let's hop in and find out. I checked where the wind was blowing on the Liurnia of Lakes Cliff, and I was admittedly pretty lost from there. How does one even test something like this? And what would be my measurement to determine the location of the arrows I fire in relation to each other? Elden Ring doesn't exactly have rulers lying around in game. I came up with a pretty decent test though. Fire one arrow at maximum force in the direction the wind is blowing, and then move my camera exclusively horizontally to a direction the wind isn't blowing, and fire at full force. If the wind direction really affects arrows, the one I fire in the direction of the wind should be higher up in the rock face than the other, because the wind assisted its travel and kept its momentum, so it would theoretically fall at a slower rate if it was really affected by wind. So I grabbed my short bow and bone arrows to take the 2 shots. I thought I had a pretty good idea of what the outcome was from looking at a distance, but getting closer just confirms it. They're at the same height in the rock face, perfectly overlapping. That means arrows aren't affected by wind at all, and this myth is busted. You are subscribed, aren't you? Oh, that's a myth, isn't it? Well, why don't you change that and subscribe to Through the Fog today, or actually right now. Right this very moment, because if you do, you get consistent high-quality content wired directly into your veins. Might as well drop a like while you're down there too. We also made a Discord, so go ahead and join in the description if you want to hang out with other foggers and the team behind Through the Fog. There's been a huge rumor going around the community forever since launch, so of course, we're gonna bust it right now. Madness is easily the most annoying effect in Elden Ring. It's a one-way ticket to death given to you just for existing. For the longest time, everyone has said that if you wear a helmet that covers your eyes, or your face in general, that you can be more resistant to madness. This would make sense, because when you're going mad, you have shit flying out of your eyes and all that. So you can see how people would believe it. This has actually been tested loads of times. But the issue is that most tests don't account for focus. Oftentimes they just grab 2 headwears, one that covers your eyes and one that doesn't, and they test their resistance like that. The problem with that is oftentimes these tests have helmets of different focus levels for the headwear they compare. Since the resistances are different between the headwears, it often fails to prove whether having your eyes covered actually does something, since the comparison isn't equal in any way, shape, or form. Then, there's the fact that they often wear full sets of armor. This tampers with the results by bringing other factors in. That's why I picked multiple pairs of headwear. Everyone I test against each other will have the exact same focus points. To avoid any other factors tampering with the test, we will also be completely naked other than our headwear, because I like it like that. For this test, we're going to be testing the Commoner's Headband against the Prophet's Blindfold, both at 27 focus. We're also testing the Imp Head against the Veteran's Helm, both at 20 focus. At max level with no helmet or armor, we go mad in 5 seconds and 86 milliseconds. We put the blindfold on and stared right back into the abyss. We went mad in 7 seconds this time. Now that we saw how fast we go mad with the blindfold, let's see how fast we go mad with the exact same amount of focus, but without having our eyes covered. We threw on the Commoner's Headband and threw ourselves into the madness. And this time, we went mad in 7 seconds and 34 seconds. It took longer without the eye cover. Let's test again with another set of headwear. This time we're trying armor that doesn't cover our eyes first. With the Veteran's Helm, we went mad in 6 seconds and 63 milliseconds. With the Imp Head that covers our eyes, we went mad in 7 seconds and 71 milliseconds. The results may confuse you a little, but it's pretty clear to me that this myth is busted. Covering your eyes definitely doesn't increase your madness resistance. I really expected that to work. It had the logic behind it, and it seems like something FromSoft would do. But at the end of the day, the rumor probably went around because people were using helmets with higher focus stats. We did get a longer time with one of the eye covering helmets, but it's so obvious. That was just because that time around, the eye thingy on the tower was taking a little longer. If it really did something, we would have seen a result substantially different enough to obviously tell something is going on, like we could with no headwear versus when we put on headwear. That means we don't have any easy way to minimize madness, but you can always try and grab an armor with more focus. We all know ranged sorceries can be a little annoying to use, since enemies can pretty easily dodge them. But what if there was a sorcery that was undodgeable and really hard to block? Our next myth is that night sorceries aren't able to be seen by normal enemies to react to. The rumor says that there's something about night spells that makes it essentially impossible for any enemy to see. I can see this being a thing, because I mean it's literally called a night sorcery. Let's hop in and test it. To really understand the extent of night sorceries and tangibility, first I tested out a few normal glintstone sorceries to see how enemies would react to a normal spell. They didn't react super quick, but they always throw up their shield pretty quick after being attacked. After we threw the night sorceries on, these guys were reacting a lot slower. In some cases, they weren't even able to throw up their shields. Getting through this camp was pretty easy with the night sorcery, and it was pretty clear that the night sorceries are indeed a lot less visible to the average enemy. This myth is actually proven right. Magic has never been perceived as a reasonable stealth option, but now we know it has legitimately impressive stealth capabilities. Even though the night sorceries get overshadowed by a bunch of other more powerful ones, maybe now you'll give it a try, and stop using the same exact spells the entire game. We're all familiar with players cheating, but have you heard of AI being able to cheat? That's the current myth being passed around. There was this video that went viral on Reddit of a rune bear seemingly knowing that it was about to get hit and dodging the player's attack despite the player sneaking up on them, and the bear having no real way to know it was going to be attacked. This Reddit poster isn't the only one that's had this issue. This has been a common and consistent complaint ever since launch. Input reading makes it so the second you press a button, the enemy reads it and reacts to it. They're essentially reading your mind. But is input reading really as bad as the player base is claiming? Or are these cherry-picked and egregious examples that have been fixed or majorly exaggerated? Let's hop in and test. For this test, I knew the perfect thing to do. Inside my mod menu, there's an option to make it so enemies can't see you. That way, when I swing on an enemy for the first time, there literally isn't any way for them to know what's coming. So if they have any reaction at all, it's an absolutely disgusting overuse of input reading. I went around trying to get a reaction out of the Godric soldiers in the first camp, and there was nothing. They legitimately had no idea someone was swinging at them, and even my swings that ended up hitting weren't reacted to prematurely at all. I will note though, the video was showing a guy attacking a rune bear, so it's only right we go and test it on the exact same enemy. I rode into the rune bear forest and tried to get some more reactions, and it was more of the same. There wasn't any premature reactions or obvious reading of inputs. Even when I got in a fight with them, everything seemed fair and above board. However, in the pursuit of journalistic integrity, I wanted to turn off my no-see mod, just in case that changed something. And oh boy it did. We snuck up on this rune bear and swung at him with our fist. And the second I pressed that button, he stood up and was ready to fight. You cannot tell me that wasn't input reading. I went over to the rune bear on the tree to see, and oh boy, this was the most abysmal one. I went to hit him, and he dodged before I was even able to land my hit. There was no way he could know I was behind him. That was input read abuse on the level of the Reddit clip. Ladies and gentlemen, it's pretty safe to say that this myth was proven right. The input reading abuse is really insane and unbalanced with some enemies. We've all been on heavy equip load. It's generally a thing you want to avoid, but it might actually allow you to do more damage, believe it or not. With Elden Ring's next level of realism, it makes me wonder if, just like real life, the heavier you are, the more damage you do to whatever you fall on. Our next myth is that you do more damage if you have a higher equip load. Up front, I feel like this is something that's gonna work. It perfectly fits FromSoft's brand for things they pay a high level of attention to. If it is true, it might not have the most application in normal playthroughs, but it would without a doubt be cool if FromSoft even thought of this. It would reinforce their nearly obsessive commitment to detail. So let's get in and test. Our testing strategy was simple. In the first camp, there's some guy standing in front of a carriage that we are gonna repeatedly cause head trauma to. We jump on him over and over again, with increasingly heavier and heavier equip loads, and record the damage numbers that come out of it. Once we do that, it should be pretty clear if this is a myth or not. First, we jump on this guy with absolutely nothing equipped, at 0 equip load. When jumping on him naked, we did 3 damage points to him. I wanted to take it slow, so for the second one, I only put on an imp head, which increased my equip load from 0 to 8.1. I proceeded to jump on the guy's head, and I actually did 7 damage instead of 3 like last time. I can't believe it, but increasing my equip load actually increased my fall damage. That's what I thought, at least. Once I equipped 2 greatswords and increased my equip load to a whopping 54.1, I only did 3 damage to him. Confused, I decided to go all out and become the heaviest I possibly could while still being able to jump on him right. I had weapons in every slot, in super heavy armor, and I still only did 7 damage. The exact amount of damage I did with only the imp head on. It was pretty clear from this that extra equip load does not increase your fall damage, and this myth has sadly been busted. being over encumbered makes it essentially impossible to play the game. Right? Not if this next myth ends up being true. If you can quick step while you're overloaded, you can use something that's essentially better than the normal dodge feature, and not have to compromise on your armor or weapons. You could have infinite poise, and run dual greatswords. Who even needs to run a light load if you can zoom around dressed like a straight up rock? For this test, I threw on the Black Onion armor and dual wielded greatswords. Because hell yeah. I put quickstep on my greatsword and pressed the Ash of War button with much anticipation. It didn't give us a normal sluggish animation, and it let us quickstep. This opens up so many possibilities for my fellow fat fucks out there. Because this myth was officially proven correct. Now you can completely ignore the endurance stat and do whatever the hell you want. To really test how viable this can be, I took my fat ass to fight Godric without the ability to dodge roll, and it went pretty good. As you can see, having quickstep and a shit ton of FP is enough to make an overloaded build legitimately viable. I would love to see some crazy PvP builds with this proven myth in mind. I don't know about you, but I always have to be fidgeting with something. I spend basically all day at my desk, and I looked everywhere for something to keep my hands busy. A good fidget tool. But everything I could find was either a cheap plastic toy that broke in a week, or... well, let's just say it clearly wasn't made for me. It was all pastels, unicorns, and glitter. I just wanted something cool that would actually fit my interests. And because I couldn't find it, I decided to make it myself. This is Omen Slime. It's a premium slime designed for our desks. I developed incredible, satisfying textures, created themes inspired by all the media we love, and decided every single tint should be a collectible artifact that comes with its own charm. I forged it for fans like us. It's the ultimate desk accessory to keep your hands busy and your mind sharp. To celebrate the launch and reward the very first supporters, we've created the Omen Slime Founders Kit. We've only made a small batch of 50 units for every slime, for this one-time only event. When you order during the Founders Drop, you're not just getting the slime at its collectible charm. You're getting the exclusive Founder Discord role to prove you were here on day one, and a 15% off veterans code for a future order. My guarantee is simple. If you don't agree this is the most satisfying desk tool you have ever owned, send the slime back for a full refund. And you can even keep the charm as a little gift for giving us a shot. You literally can't lose. Oh, and I should probably mention that we're launching the second this video is dropping. So I don't know when you're watching this, but if you have any interest in this at all, you should go ahead and click the first link in the description and buy one as soon as possible. Let me warn you though, these are probably going to be going insanely fast, because this isn't the only channel that's advertising this. Well, that's all ladies and gentlemen. I'll let you get back to your scheduled content. Torrent can be a pretty essential part of a lot of sections in this game, but if he gets hurt, you can't heal him. Right? Well, that's our next myth. We are gonna see if it's possible to heal Torrent, and if you can heal him in all the same ways you can heal a player. Let's get straight into the testing. I rode him through this camp so he could get roughed up a little, and went off to the side to drink a flask. It looks like he wasn't healing at first, but once I got to full health, Torrent started healing too. The issue is that we're gonna have to heal Torrent a whole lot more to undo Kenneth Pinion's sins. So we had these knights rough him up a little more, and we actually attempted a healing spell on him. This was healing him stupid slow. I know it's a weak spell, but still, look at how much it's healing me versus Torrent. So the myth ended up being fact. You can heal Torrent through just about every mean you can heal a normal player. Now for the myth of all myths. We've tested if quickstep can replace a dodge roll, but what about jumping? We all know that ground attacks can be dodged by jumping, but what if you want to dodge normal attacks? If you're able to do this, most players should definitely be keeping their finger on that dodge button more often, and be sure to take advantage of it. There were a lot of rumors going around about this, and I can see it working. It makes sense that there would be iframes used somewhere in the jump if it can dodge ground attacks, but I had no idea where those iframes were, and whether they could be useful for anything other than ground attacks. So I went and tested it. I started, of course, by going to the famous testing camp, and I immediately started throwing hands with everyone there. And I gotta say, at first it was pretty hard. The jump timing was a lot different than dodge rolling, but after long enough, something happened. I was actually able to dodge normal attacks by jumping, and honestly, it was a little easier than dodge rolling. I mean, look at me jumping around. Dodging attacks and abusing people's head like they're a Goomba. I'm giving this guy an insane amount of head trauma. Fuck this guy in particular. I'm gonna treat your head like a trampoline and dodge all your attacks just by jumping. I think it's safe to say that this myth wasn't a myth after all. That was all the myths we have for today. What was your favorite myth? And please, leave me some ideas in the comments for myths we can cover in the next video. And if you do, you'll get a shout out. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you want more, click the video on screen to see the unwritten rules of Elden Ring. And until next time, I'll see you through the fog.